What's up, everybody? You're tuning in to BottomLineSports.net, serving up deeper insight on everything sports. San Francisco Giants outfielder Melky Cabrera was suspended 50 games after testing positive for testosterone. Given his drastic improvement since being a .255 hitter who was released by the Braves in 2010 to being a .346 hitter who won MVP of the All-Star Game in 2012, the Milkman delivered the goods, but not the way we want them delivered. That's the most deflating thing about this era of baseball. Fans watch and enjoy players' inflated numbers before their bubbles burst, and that player comes back down to earth. Cabrera provides another example of what we hate most about this era. We can't recognize success anymore. Is that star player where he is because of good old-fashioned hard work or because of an injection? Numbers hardly have any meaning anymore in baseball. Everything we're watching seems like it's not what we're supposed to be watching, and our morality keeps asking us what we're watching, and we don't have an answer. When asked how many players are taking performance-enhancing drugs and circumventing the drug testing system, co-founder of Balco, Victor Conte, said in an interview with USA Today, quote, "I would say maybe as much as half of baseball," end quote. Considering there's at least 750 MLB players, that would mean somewhere around 375 players are taking performance-enhancing drugs. The policy has been in place since 2006. There have only been 13 players since then who have been hit with at least a 50-game suspension or worse, the minimum penalty that comes with a failed test. That's a relatively low number of players who have been found to be doping, but Conte says there's a reason why. Testosterone has emerged as the most popular doping drug. Conte said, quote, "I'm not going to name names, but I've talked to a lot of top players in Major League Baseball and they tell me this is what they're doing. There is rampant use of synthetic testosterone in Major League Baseball," end quote. That's because testosterone comes in forms that allow a player to easily avoid testing positive. He says, what these guys are doing is using fast-acting testosterone, creams, gels, patches, and microdose injections. They put this stuff on after a game, let it circulate in their bloodstream, and 8 hours later it's out of their system when they take a drug test. It's so simple. Conte says it's so simple, and I believe it. Major League Baseball insists that it has the most stringent drug testing program in American sports. MLB Vice President Rob Manfred said Conte was just making that up and said, quote, "We use the very best, most sophisticated methodologies that are available." That's not true at all. The MLB and other leagues use a 4-to-1 testosterone to epitestosterone or TE ratio to detect testosterone, and it's ineffective according to Conte. A player could use some form of fast-acting testosterone delivery after a game, and their TE ratio would be normal by the time they get to the ballpark the next evening. Conte tweeted after Cabrera got caught, saying, "The TE test is easy to beat. Only the dumber than dumb get caught." Late last year, Conte suggested that the MLB use more expensive drug testing methods like CIR, or carbon isotope ratio testing. Or, since the MLB and the MLBPA have agreed to do blood testing, Conte says the MLB should look for unusual hematocrit levels. Hematocrit is the percentage of red blood cells in comparison to total whole blood volume. An irregular level of hematocrit could be a result of the use of EPO or other blood boosters. Cycling and other winter sports are known to check for hematocrit. So no, the MLB is not using the very best, most sophisticated methodologies like Manfred suggested. Conte says, quote, "There's such a loophole you really wonder if Major League Baseball has a genuine interest in stopping these guys." I'm wondering the same thing. If the MLB is serious about cleaning up its sport, it wouldn't show any level of ignorance to Conte, a guy who played a big part in dirtying up the sport to begin with. The guy who supplied these players from his Bay Area laboratory obviously has some insight that you should be paying attention to. This is like the Joker giving Batman genuine advice on how to catch the new criminal running amok in Gotham. The steroid era is supposed to be over and done with, but I believe it's alive and well. There have been some notable players who have been caught doping since 2006, like Mike Cameron in 2007, Jose Guillen in 2007, Manny Ramirez twice in 2009 and 2011, and now Melky Cabrera, who is playing out in left field where Barry Bonds was, and he's the fourth MLB player suspended for drug use this season. And after seeing Conte's statements, I believe many more notable players are out there taking PEDs as well. The bottom line is that MLB needs to do one of two things. One, adopt better drug testing methods even if they are more expensive, as I explained earlier, or 2, adopt stricter penalties for taking PEDs. A full MLB season is 162 games long, and 50 games is not even a third of the season. I get that 50 games is still significant because even though it's less than a third of a full season, that's still 50 games that Cabrera and others aren't compensated for. And this certainly hurts Cabrera specifically since he's looking for a big payday in the offseason. But for stars or even semi-stars who already have millions, 50 games isn't enough. It's still worth it for them to roll the dice. The MLB needs to make it to where all players are discouraged from taking that chance. Baseball can still regain the respect it's lost in recent years, even though technology may never allow baseball to be 100% clean. But it'll look even more tainted than it already does if the sport doesn't do everything it can to wipe it down. Thanks for tuning in to BottomLineSports.net with me, Talal Omasri, doing it every Monday and Thursday now, so definitely make sure to check back on those days. I appreciate the recent comments. 7U4, I agree the Lakers will be fascinating to watch, especially if they go with the Princeton offense like Kobe is asking for. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on how Nash runs the offense and how Howard's mobility makes a bigger impact for LA defensively. Back to the Rooster, I totally feel you. Gabbert wasn't put in the best situation. I actually cover the Jags for my local newspaper, the Gainesville Sun. This season will be my third year doing that. I still would have liked to see a little more out of him. He looked really shaky in the pocket, and you got to protect the football better than that. Still, Justin Blackmon, Mike Thomas, now Laurent Robinson to go with Mercedes Lewis. He should have weapons to throw the ball to. Anyways, check out my site where you can subscribe in iTunes, and you can follow me on Twitter at TSunSports. That's it for today. I'm out.